Awesome. So yeah, so we're just super grateful to everyone joining us this evening. Yeah, this idea was kind of an interesting little thing that we're doing here, birthed out of
necessity.
What?
Necessity.
Necessity, yeah, like the flow. Just the flow is weird. Yeah, necessity, 100%, right? So I think it's kind of cool though that Sierra just messaged me maybe a couple weeks ago. Sierra, Eric's wife, messaged me a couple weeks ago and was like, "Are you still doing the interviews?" And I was like, "What kind of interviews?" And when I messaged her back, I got this vision, and I was like, "Let's do this." And it all flowed together and worked. So anyway, here we are. And Spirit told me to ask you, Lauren, what the name of it was. And the name of this is New Earth Roundtable. Yeah. So and I've been praying about this for weeks now. I've been asking God, what is this? And I think there's a lot of us like all over the planet that are doing the same thing. Like we're not special. We're just part of the group of people that are doing this. Like I think that's really empowering to think about that and to know that like all over the earth, people are waking up and remembering who we are. It's funny, we say New Earth, but it's like Back to the Future. We're spiraling back to actually who we are. So that being said, I just want to say a blessing over us real quick, and then I would like to introduce us. Is Matthew here yet? No? Okay, well, he'll come. Okay. So, whoa. So if you just want to breathe.
There it is. There it is.
Matthew's here.
Now we can truly begin.
Is he here?
Yeah, he was. I think so.
I gotta figure out.
Yep, he's in.
Oh, whoa, there's a lot of people. Hey.
All right, so for everybody just joining right now, can you keep your microphones muted? That way we've got everything nice and free of distractions. And if you have questions, go ahead and type them into the box down below. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, thank you for joining us. This is a lot of people. I just figured out how to use Zoom, you guys. Thanks.
First time.
Universe. So yeah. Wow. So we just, no. If we just breathe with us together, let's just breathe. Center ourselves. I think everyone here, wow, is good at that. Yeah. So just center yourself, align yourself with the core of the earth, align yourself with the galactic center in your spine, in your energetic center. Pull everything here, all universes, cosmoses, timelines, dimensions, and alternates, everything. Come into the now. Breathe. Yeah. Thank you. Wow. Yeah. So we just say thank you. I just say thank you to God, Source Creator, to the thing that brought us all together here right now. Yeah, that's a thing, whether it's a voice or a feeling or whatever it is, we just align. Hey, align with that clearly. Yeah, we pop up and out of the cellulose, fake, integral, hey, thing. Yeah, we come up and out. Length, height, depth, width, tesseract, come out, spiral out. Square the cube, come out. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Pulling into the now. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you to Lyra. Thank you to Orion. Thank you to, wow. Thank you to, wow. Sirius, Pleiades. Yeah. Antares, Andromeda. Whoa. 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 Galactic councils, councils of light. Hey, thank you to ancestors, ones that have come before, ones that are here now. Yeah. Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. Wait, hey, whoa. Buddha and Kuan Yin. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the ones we don't know their names. Hey. Yeah, we just come in now, hey, an agreement, with that new thing, yeah, and we just say, let that thing flow. Woo. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so just breathe. Oh, it's so good. It's here, you guys. It's here. Whoa. Yeah, we just released that. Woo. Yeah, and I'm so excited right now to introduce you to, I've been thinking about this since the day we said we would do it. And I've been thinking about these people. What an honor it is. What an honor it is that anyone would listen to me, number one. And number two, that I could introduce these people that are like, man, every one of them has changed my life. Yeah. Wow. So I'm going to introduce you to the 4 other people that are here with us. My name is Laurel. Laurel Love is my name on Facebook. I can talk about myself in a little bit, but I'm going to introduce you to the 4 people that are with me, and we're going to talk about our journeys because you guys, as you get higher up in the alchemical journey, you realize like this is just a program and here's the keys to get out of it. And so all of us have different life patterns, and yet we've come together and we want to release that to you right now. We want to release that to you. What are the keys to get out? Because the keys are very simple and basic, no matter what the circumstantial evidences are in your realm. There's very basic, simple steps to come up and into this other place that we all know is real. Yeah, and it's based in the heart. So I'm gonna first talk about Lauren Pritchard, who
Hi there.
funny, there you are. Like you have to talk to like put your face there. Yeah. Yeah. So
Is that how it goes?
Yeah, I met this girl. Let me just tell you, I met her personally in November at 11/11, and literally from the first 2 minutes I met her, she traded codes with me in a way that has shifted my life.
Yeah, about our names.
Yeah, about our names. Yeah.
Oh, wait, are we introducing ourselves?
Yeah, so I'm saying that to you. I'm releasing the baton to you, and tell us about your journey, and take some time here. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for doing this. This is our first of, I'm sure, many of these New Earth roundtables. So we came, and it's like this energetic thing, Laurel, our minds are all of our minds, they're totally in sync with each other, especially when we start to vibrate the vibration of the planet. And there's this new calling for, okay, we have all this information, right? We've got all this knowledge. Now, how do we implement it? Well, we need to implement solutions. And the way that we do that is by connecting with people again, by coming together and talking and sharing ideas. So I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm grateful for everybody attending. So I had this ambush awakening October 2016. I was not super spiritual or anything like that. I just was kind of slapped awake by spirit and was initiated into this process of understanding that I am here to assist the shift in consciousness. A very slow, anticlimactic leading up event of figuring out to where I'm at now. Obviously, if you knew everything you knew now a year ago, you probably freak out. And that goes for everybody on this planet right now, because we can only take things in little micro doses and little spoonfuls. So anyways, they were showing me things about people being poisoned with metal and the AI. So I knew that's part of my mission, is to expose and help people avoid, derail this AI timeline, which is another timeline that's, maybe it won't even play out. Maybe it won't even play out at all, but it is a very real possibility for maybe some people. And it's important that we stay on the pure ascension timeline, because every decision that you make, you're making decisions that chooses your reality. And I had a funny trolley comment on YouTube one day. Someone said, there are no different timelines. Like, it's the present moment. I was like, okay, well, in the present moment, you could be chewing fluoride tablets and watching CNN and believing it. Or in the present moment, you could be yoga, meditating, and, drinking some really pure water. Those are 2 different choices. There are 2 different timelines that we're choosing. And that's why later on, I want to get into, how we deal with unconscious people, because I think that's something that everybody can use a little bit in their tool belt. So yeah, that was kind of my mission right now. It is to help liberate the planet from the atrocious monetary system. So that's the number one thing right now. And I feel like that's kind of what we're all trying to do, really, because money mimics true reality. So we need to take money out of the equation so we can use our brains the way they were intended to be used. And so doing things like this is a great place to start. So thank you so much, Laurel.
Yeah, totally. Wait, I just want to ask you a question real quick. Like, what about, okay, so think about No, that's amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, what about like who you were? I don't know. Can you talk a little bit about like have you had this experience where you think you hear yourself talking to other people and you hear what you're saying and you're like, oh my God, I can imagine if this girl from whatever me version of me could hear me now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
yeah.
that's actually a very healing exercise that everybody can do with themselves. So when you're in the present moment, you can change your world today by thinking about all the people that you've been in the past. You've been a traumatized child, or you've been in the beginning of a spiritual awakening, being isolated and rejected by everybody you speak to. And you can kind of go back and tell that person, like, hey, meditate and tell that person, hey, guess what? It's kind of crazy right now, but look at where you're going to be. You heal those past timelines. Wait, what was the question?
Well, I was just thinking about like in your journey, like remembering who you were compared to now. You know what I mean? Like I think that a lot. Like when I'm
well,
working with people, I'm
everything.
just like, I can't believe sometimes the things that are coming out of my mouth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the rabbit hole just gets deeper. So anyway, I was just wondering what your journey. Anyway, yeah, that's all.
Yeah, my life definitely has come full circle. I've definitely been prepared for this my whole life. I was laughing because in my attic, I'm at my parents' house right now, in my attic, I have Forbes magazines that I have saved because it was always a special interest of mine, American Greed, and it was always out of humor. I thought it was very humorous at a young age, this whole monetary system and how bogus it is. So yeah, my life has definitely come full circle. I definitely resonate with like the Divine Feminine, the Magdalene codes, the Sophionic codes, the Primordial Mother codes. I definitely resonate with all that energy. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love you. You're amazing. Okay.
Love you too.
All right. So let's talk to Barbara. Barbara, I've heard of you in lore. Like people have spoken of you, and I've never actually talked to you until recently, and then I realized why. People were telling me about you. And yeah, you're an intuitive healer, and I just remember talking to you. It was like one of the greatest conversations. Well, it was a good conversation. So anyway, please tell people who you are and what you're doing and what your journey is here.
It was really, really good to talk to you too, because I've never met you before. And I've spoken with everybody else aside from Lauren on this call today. So it was exciting to talk to you, and we just instantly connected, which was really cool. My name is Barbara Buck, and I do intuitive healing. I've been a healer in one form or another since 2000. Before that, I grew up in Southern California, and by the time I was 19, I was a makeup artist and a hairstylist for A-list rock musicians. So for like female rock musicians and male ones who like to have their hair and makeup done. And so I actually toured on the road and did all this, private planes, 5-star hotels. That was my life from the time I was 19 until I was about 28 or 29 years old. And there was a really big earthquake. And I got hit in the head with something, and I woke up and it was like everything was different. I just looked around at all of my things that I collected over the years from all over the world and my travels, and everything's broken on the floor. And, I'm walking around with a headache, and I'm thinking to myself, this is just crap. What am I doing? What am I doing? And it like knocked some sense into me, really. And I left California and I moved to Phoenix because one of the musicians that I worked for lived here. And I spent a long time just trying to figure out who I was. And all of a sudden I had this little dog that got sick. And from that, these people worked with her, and she ended up healing, and she was dying, and then she wasn't dying. And I'm like, what did you do? How can I learn how to do it? So I did, I learned how to do Reiki, which is like every healer's gateway drug, like they start with Reiki and then they move on. And I became a healer, and I learned like a million different kinds of modalities. I learned hypnotherapy and quantum healing and polarity therapy and Reiki and reconnective healing. I mean, there's so many different things. Also just my own experience. And at this point, I just kind of, there's so much knowledge in there that I free form and I just allow my higher self to do the work because it's smarter than I am, because I'm not that smart. And and that's kind of how I work. And also I do a lot of golden frequency healing. Thank you, Eric Rains, for that download. That was awesome because Eric worked on me because I had this one thing I couldn't get rid of. He's a healer's healer like I am. He works with a lot of healers who are advanced, but they get stuck. And the second right after he worked on me, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I can totally do this work now. So I started working with golden frequency. So that's kind of what I do. 80% of what I do right now is that type of work. I also help other people to exit the matrix by helping them to connect into their own superpowers and their own abilities. And teach them how to use the frequencies that are out there or their own natural frequencies to clear trauma, to clear programming, and reprogram themselves, basically put new programming in that's healthier and more connected with the ascension timeline. I do a lot of like that type of intuitive development. That tends to be where I've been doing more work lately than even doing healings, because I think it's really sorely needed. As people wake up, they don't know what the heck is going on. It's like getting hit by a Mack truck. It's like all of a sudden you have these gifts. You have no idea what to do with them. Or perhaps you're like really struggling and you don't know that there's a higher self, but you can't find it. You can't feel it. You can't see it. You can't tap into it. And for me, my mission is literally helping people to tap into their own smart parts and their own, higher intelligence, and then use that to pull themselves out of the matrix, to pull themselves away from this whole construct that causes us so many problems. So that's what I do now. That's, for lack of a better way to describe it, I had the same issues that everybody had growing up. I didn't have an easy childhood. I had a lot of illness and things like that in my life that I had to overcome. And I think that what people might identify the most with me is because I was really asleep and really vapid. While I was always a thinker, I never thought about this stuff until all of a sudden I couldn't not think about it. It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it, kind of a thing. And so, and I started later in life, So if you're out there and you're like, I can't start my mission. It's too late. I'm too old or whatever. That's not true.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I just love you. I can't wait till I can meet you. Like, oh my gosh, in real life. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I can't wait to trade sessions with you. I wanted
to do it before, but my house is closing on Wednesday, and the amount of stuff that we have to do beforehand is insane. And I was like, I really want to get together with her and do that. We are doing it. My house is closing on Wednesday. After that, you and me, Sista.
Okay, let's send some energy to you. Can we do that? Can we just all send
That
some
would be
blessings?
great.
Yeah, let's just send some energy to Barbara with what she's doing. Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah, we just align all the places. Hey. And we just move all the things where, the angels just come in. Hey. And just make everything really fun. We just say it's going to be really fun. Ha ha ha. You're going to have so much energy. You're going to be like, I can't sleep. I have so much energy. We just release that. No. Over you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, love you. Okay. For serious, what the angels is gonna happen. Okay. And Matthew Mournian. This man, speaking of people who have been in lore. Okay, so I heard of him when I was when I was in Shasta at the Eclipse of Oregon eclipse, and I was there with people, and they're like, "You have to meet this guy," and you were around, but you're a very quiet person in public, or for me, you were. And so I just remember being like, I want to talk to that guy, and then life has brought us together through Lauren, actually, where you have been one of the most amazing healers that I've ever experienced in my life. And I don't say those words lightly, like, because it's shitty to say those words if they're not true. You know what I mean? So, and I'm super grateful to you. Wow. Yeah. Whoa. I just, my body's like releasing as I'm talking to you. You're just, anyway. So Matthew does galactic intuitive tarot, right?
That's actually.
So you say what you do. You're amazing.
Yeah. No. So yeah. Hello. Thank you. It's I'm deeply honored to be here amongst all of these people that have been an incredible force in literally why I'm here today. So I'm very deeply honored. It's an amazing time to be alive. So yeah. My name is Matthew. I'm here primarily at this stage of the game. My primary mission is in multi-dimensional healing and intuitive readings. And I think for those of you that are on here that you might have heard of me, most oftentimes you'll find me every couple of weeks on Facebook doing a round of kind of like readings and whatnot. And what I do is I use tarot right now within the intuitive reading realm to just look at the systems in the body, specifically to look at our energetic anatomy with respect to chakras, say like meridians, the nadial complex, which is another sort of element that's kind of coming online for a lot of us. So what I'm doing right now is I'm creating a system of using tarot to specifically look at aspects of our emotional, electrochemical, energetic data that's going on in the body. And then what I do in my general practice is I take that information and use that and move that into a focused energetic state in which we end up moving through implantation, opening up chakras. It's lately, one of the primary things I've been doing is mobilizing lymph fluid in the body to release old latent emotions, things that will hang out and be uncurable for people. Most oftentimes that takes place through some form of emotion that's lodged. And one of the things I love doing is using these tones. And this actual, what it is quite literally a scalar wave frequency that we're able to use and create with the human body through a couple different methods, primarily through a visualization, an intention, and then a method of direct transmission, which is where I use tones to actually move energy through the body. That's the bulk of what I do on a daily basis. That and a lot of tarot readings and just old-fashioned kind of looking at people's timelines, seeing where the energy is headed. And that was a bit of a mouthful, but that's quite literally my mission at this stage. And I'm deeply honored because one of the reasons why I'm here is because I had experiences very early on, and I'm very new at this, you guys. I'm probably one of the newest people that are in this realm right now doing what I'm doing. I've only been doing this for just almost 3 years at this point. And only 2 years at a full-time level. But what happened for me was very early on, I had some experiences with Eric here. I believe this was in summer of 2015, possibly 2016, in which I was just coming into awareness of the parasitic construct, or what we may call these hyper-dimensional occult forces that are quite literally affecting our emotions, our energy, the structures in our body. And my crash course into that was quite literally, a conversation with him in which he said, hey, man, you have this thing kind of just hanging out right here in your heart chakra. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. Well, and he ended up doing some work on me, and, it quite literally changed the course of my life, because from that moment, I was never the same after that. So I had a very early experience with like the relevancy, the understanding a real tangible energetic blockage. And what that did from that point forward was it kind of shot me into this whole other process in which, in the coming years since, I literally walked away from my previous job, which was working in the mental health field with like veterans treatment as a chemical dependency counselor, which I was doing for 6 years at the time. I ended up walking away from all of that stuff, a house, a marriage, a life, everything, and literally left to pursue this 100% full time. So in a lot of ways, you guys, for the people that are on this call and, are here for this whole shift, which was literally why we incarnated, I'm a product of that energy. I'm a product of these activations, and I'm just really honored to be here. So I think that was a big mouthful. I'll stop there. Yeah.
Matthew, I love you so much. That's the perfect segue. Because, like, okay, I was just thinking while we're talking, I'm like, okay, because Eric to me is just, oh gosh, I just like, he's, I feel like the thing that's connected all of us. And, yeah, he's just so amazing that, like, you kind of have to trick him into not being humble because he's so humble, you know, like, I have to be like, look, now you're the featured one, you know. Yeah, so Eric, you're the one that, or thank you, sorry, you're the one, and your whole thing, Eric's whole thing is unleashing natural humanity. Honestly, I've never met a kinder healer than this man, and he, for me too, opened up a lot of things for me. So Eric Rings, if you just want to tell us about your journey and who you are.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, I just got to say thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Matt. I really, I came here knowing that there was more possible, and to be able to tap into sensations inside of myself that I can broadcast and share with the world. And I see such change, and I see such magnificent awakening. You know, thank you, you guys. Like, this is exactly why I do this. It's, I know that there's more, and I have been able to embody it myself. And because I've been able to embody it, I've been able to resonate and share it. And this is literally what this energy work is. It's tapping into higher levels of emotion, higher levels of energetic resonance, and then turning that frequency up to the point that there's physical change inside of the body. And my whole journey started with not even knowing who I was. You know, it was December 21st, 2012, where my whole entire reality crashed around me. And that there was a specific moment where my little pocket crystal, it stopped resonating. It stopped vibrating, even though I didn't even know it had a vibration up until that point. And I freaked out. You know, I was like, oh my goodness, there is something to this date. And I know now it was the reset. It was that 0 point, and everything started to shift afterwards. But the problem was I hadn't shifted enough. And so I got tossed into an incredibly brutal, fast, dark night of the soul that culminated with me leaving a relationship where we were together almost 8 years. And we were just really, really nasty to each other, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And it just wasn't a good place to be. And so I ended up taking off, and I brought my 9-month-old daughter to go live with my mom at my childhood home when I was 26 years old. And in this space, I didn't have any money. I didn't have anything, you know, and I had, I had grants to go to school. And so I started going to massage school and taking care of my kid. And I found all this free time, and I had no money to fill that free time with. And I started to really focus on the important things. And it started a culmination of about maybe 8.5 to 9 months of yoga every single day, of qigong every single day, of energy work on myself, of sun gazing, of walking meditations, of constant forward movement and transformation. And I didn't know what I was pushing for. Like, I had no clue what I was doing. I just knew that there was something else. And I was at the point where I had to figure something else out, because when you come into this world and you understand what is possible, and then you're inside of the system, it's so completely unnatural. It's so completely just off the course of what it's supposed to be. And when you recognize that on a soul level, you either fix it or you fall victim to it. And I fell victim to it long enough to where I started to recognize it. And when I was working my way back up into what felt good and releasing all of this darkness that not only had been passed down to me, but I had been creating, that's when I started to feel sensations that I could actually, for the first time in my life, say felt good. And I just kept on turning it up. I kept going after it. And it culminated on a night in 2014 where I actually released the color systems of my chakra centers. And I exploded my heart space into this brilliant golden sun that it changed my life. Everything changed from that moment forward. Where beforehand I felt like I was inside of my skin, and I had sight, hearing, taste, touch, smell, and that was it, that I could interact with the world. And from that moment forward, the sensations that were inside of my body that I was cultivating and making stronger, they blasted into an awareness that blew out around me to where I could feel everything. I could close my eyes and navigate completely and totally blind because I could feel the atomic structure and the makeup of everything. Like, I mean, I was even feeling the bugs in the dirt that was underneath my house. And this blew so much energy and so much light through my body that the first awareness of the parasitic construct inside of me was it actually clicking loose. And I felt my voice inside of my head get more crazy, distorted, angry, and demonic as that click slid back further and further inside my head. And it started hurting worse and worse and worse until right back here, there was the realization inside of that pounding pain that I've got something inside of me it's not me. That's not my consciousness. And I could see it, I could feel it. And so I decided I needed to get rid of it because it felt disgusting and I didn't enjoy it anymore. And so I got rid of it that night. And that was my first time I ever did an implant removal, entity extraction, anything like that. And what this ended up doing is it completely and totally released all the pain patterning inside of the muscle memory in my body. All the neurological patterns inside of my head, those completely disappeared. And I had no noise whatsoever. It was complete silence. And emotionally, spiritually, mentally, like it all aligned to this pure point of existential understanding. And I went to school that next day and I could see these little black things inside of everybody. And I was sitting here freaking out, thinking I was going insane. And yet at the same time, I couldn't deny how amazing I felt. And, you know, I could literally feel like I was only capitulating to gravity because everybody else agreed to it. Like I felt like a balloon that was like floating along there. And once I realized that these things were real, I had to start talking about it. And so I initially came out, I tried to be all secretive and not tell anybody who I was as Eric Pilgrim. And I just tried to do this with a mask on and not, you know, really come forward and say, hey, this is me, this is who I am. And that was a really big, you know, dark night of the soul that I had to come to terms with as well, because I couldn't stay inside of my normal everyday life if I was trying to change the world for a better energetic environment, a better energetic place. And so as that all fell apart and I started having to really come out into the forefront and be in the open doing this type of work, it made me face a lot inside of myself, a lot of fears, a lot of programs that I had passed down and that I had built up. And it was a really beautiful and a very valuable process, because what I was doing as I was decoding all of these things that were blocked up inside of me and outside of me is I was just studying what they were blocking. What was the purpose? What was the goal? What was the issue? You know, and wherever there was blockage, I would start making free flow. And wherever there was darkness, I would turn on light. Wherever there was anger or sadness, guilt, or any type of emotion that doesn't feel good inside, I would start creating joy or love or forgiveness or gratitude or any high vibration emotion on that level. And what it did is it literally gave me a field of awareness that I can use for my nervous system that I can take anywhere in time or space. And I can connect into any information that I need to. I can connect into any energy that I need to. But more importantly, I can translate it. And so when I connect into these energy fields and I translate what's happening, it's not that I'm just talking words. I'm actively building a bridge with the words so that people can feel the energy of what I'm talking about. And that's the language of light levels. That's the body language levels. That's how the universe communicates. There's no words. There's no mind-based perception inside of any of it. And you might have some mind-based perceptions inside of the energy, such as you might have clear sight or clear smelling or hearing or something like that. But that's just one flavor inside of the vast wholeness that is the language of light. And so what I've been doing ever since is decoding it and teaching people how to do it. And so you have people like Barbara and Matt, you know, they've come to a couple of my retreats now, and we've figured out some really cool stuff. They're actually coming this summer too, at the end of June, beginning of July. And what we do is we just find these resonances inside of ourselves. And once you feel them, you don't need a guru. You don't need a master. You just need somebody to point the way and light your torch and say, all right, go study, go light things up, go figure it out. And I've been doing that ever since, and I'm not going to stop until my job's not needed anymore. So that's Eric. Hi.
Eric, you're so amazing. Lauren just said she's going to take over for topics, but I just wanted to ask you one question real quick about your story, because I don't want you to stop talking, honestly. Like, I love how descriptive you are, because you just show all these pictures, like, and it's true, like, you have this ability that, I mean, yeah, think that I'm fucking amazing or whatever, but I do think that I have a good grid for what I'm talking about and have experience with people. For some reason, I was just praying today. I was thinking about today, and I was like, God, how am I connected to all these people? Like, who am I, you know? But like, so anyway, with you, like, you're not just speaking, you're transferring codes. Like you're like we're at like, you know, 5% like conscious, like 95% subconscious. Like my body's just like, I can just feel you just, you know, I'm like, yes. But anyway, so what I wanted you, well, when you were talking, I loved what you said about when you switched over, that moment when you kind of switched over and you're like, and everything just kind of became. And so I wanted, if before Lauren talks, if you could just kind of talk about that a little bit more. I love how you give details of what the feeling was and what it was like when you woke up in the morning and you were like looking at the coffee maker or whatever. Maybe you're drinking tea. I don't know. You know, like,
yeah.
what was that like?
No,
like, I know I'm not crazy, you know?
No, I completely know what you're talking about here because like after I went, so that happened at night. Like it was maybe about 8:45, 9 o'clock at night when I was doing my meditation and I did the energy work and started to get this to shift and move through. And what ended up happening was about maybe 3 hours of energy work that night, and I just collapsed exhausted on the bed. And when I woke up, I immediately, it was like I didn't really sleep. It was like my head hit the pillow and then my eyes immediately woke up, but I felt so completely rested and so completely refreshed. And as I woke up, and I remember I opened my eyes, and here's this ceiling that I would see every single time I'd open my eyes. And yet here I am studying the way that the color shines in the morning with the sunlight coming off of it, and how the shadow, it makes like this weird interlocking pattern grid, and how like the old paint makes the shadows dapple. And so I'm like, I woke up to this, and I'm sitting here and I'm looking up at it. And at the same time, I'm kind of remembering things that were happening from the night before. And I really got a good handle on it. And I kind of blinked and I went, oh, whoa. And so I sat up, and I remember sitting up was the most surreal experience I've ever had. It was the most now moment that I have really kind of experienced to this date. And so I actually use this one as a gateway to really come back into the now, because I felt that experience then. And so what it felt like when I sat up, it was like a complete and total awareness of every cellular fiber inside of my body, and every single nervous system awareness inside and outside of myself, that when I sat up and the covers fell off of me and they slid down, I felt the weight, I felt the shifting, I felt my muscles moving, I felt them tensing, I felt the bones breathing the blood through the marrow. And when I sat up, and I remember I might have even had my eyes open for this, but I was in this moment of just absolute rapture with understanding how my cellular structure was moving in the moment. And it wasn't something that was, it wasn't a superhuman awareness that I understand the way that it is now. It's simply nothing more than getting outside of your head and outside of the words and into the sensations that the body understands. And so what I mean by like body language is it's something where you don't want to speak in the words. What you want to do is more along the lines of like, if you have a feeling that bubbles up inside of you that turns into the words of thank you so much. You know, that gratitude underneath those words, that is the feeling that we're trying to tap into right there. And so like, say for instance, you're trying to talk to your muscle memory or your bones or your tendons or anything like that, because you've got tension and you want them to let go. You have to bring your attention into where it's uncomfortable and just simply say, hey, that doesn't feel good. This is what I want you to feel like. And then you create the sensation inside of yourself as you're exhaling, as you're releasing. And so that awareness, it was like my first understanding of truly being inside of my body, even though I'd done martial arts my whole entire life. And, you know, I could throw up a snap kick with precision to, you know, like this far of where I'm trying to hit, like 1.5 feet up above my head. And yet I've never truly felt the way that my leg moves through that movement, through that sensation. And I haven't been able to get out of that ever since. It's nowhere near as intense as it was that first time, just specifically because like, if you cut off the blood flow into a leg or an arm or something like that and it goes to sleep, that first rush and that awareness that comes through, it's really almost uncomfortably intense. It's just an awareness that all of a sudden it's just bam, right in your face. And so that's what was initially one of the things that I started to recognize and notice. And as I was in this space, I remember getting in the car to drive to school. Well, actually to the parking lot where this other lady would pick me up and drive me 30 miles to the school down the freeway. I remember just feeling the engine moving inside of the car. I remember feeling the tires rotating. I remember feeling how slick the grease is that has everything moving and shifting with no friction inside of the car as it's moving down the road. You know, the feeling of the road where the tires are interacting with the concrete and the pavement and the different textures, like it's almost like my fingers were the tires. And that was that awareness that I was using to just explore, you know, like the feeling of the table as I sat down at school, or, you know, that static charge of the chair, that plastic chair that I was sitting in as I brushed my clothes against it and sat down. And it was this right here that I was just exploring and just so inside of, when all of a sudden I realized that I've got light that was coming out of me and there's dark places inside of other people. And it was like by shining this light, I was able to have something to give a backdrop to then have a detection of what was not moving, because everything was dark before I turned on the light. And it's just a surreal nature. Like, I mean, I've done like peyote ceremonies, I've done ayahuasca ceremonies. You know, I've gone really out of my head. I've gone very far down that multidimensional pathway, and there was nothing that compared to this. Absolutely nothing. It was the most intense, amazing connection that I've ever had in the moment. And it's still not as intense because it's not in that activation stage and it's not brand new, but I've been building on it ever since. And this is how I know how to do what I do. It's a feeling, and some things feel right and some things don't. And it's really easy to differentiate when you look at it that way.
I love that so much. Oh my gosh. Okay, Lauren. Okay, Lauren. Eric, thank you so much. I was just away before. I just want to. Oh God, I just can't even know words. Okay. All right, Lauren. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to take over and we're going to get into some topics of discussion. But before that, I would like to give a shout out to Laurel. You're so funny because you have this light that's so big that I can just see why evil forces would want to contain it, and then also keep you from understanding it. So just want to throw that out there. I had a DNA activation with Laurel, and afterwards I passed out for 2 hours. And after that, the course of my life changed for the better, in the sense that I had faith in knowing that I was embodying more of my higher self that was guiding me. So it gave me a lot of confidence to walk freely, especially as we're moving into some uncharted territory. So you're amazing. So topics of discussion. Oh, and I want to say also, when you were saying,
I love you. I unmuted my mic. I just want to tell you I love you. Okay, sorry. I interrupted you. I just had to tell you I love you. That's all. Okay.
I love you too. I love all you guys. I love everyone for being here. This is a really big deal, I think. I think this is the first of many of these types of discussions. And it's really coming out of necessity, because we are getting all the knowledge, we're getting the downloads, and now we're starting to implement it. So getting into the topics of discussion. Actually, well, before that, a little spirit rally about when earlier we were talking about sending energy to Barbara Buck. I felt like, so I closed my eyes and I went to send energy to, and it was like I could physically, like, this is a rolly chair. It was like I could physically like throw myself across the room if I wanted to. And it reminded me of a conversation that I had with someone recently, where, you know, because we're trying to find these solution-oriented ways of doing things moving forward. And we were saying, you know, we get together, if we could get together physically, which perhaps this is sort of like the prelude to that, the things that we can accomplish when we come together and have discussions like this is so powerful. And I think that was just a testament to that very true reality, the things that we can accomplish when we come together. It's like the power is so much stronger. So that was totally amazing. This is an incredible experience. I'm just so happy to be here with all of you guys. And even though I can't see you all on your screen, I can feel such good positive energies just flowing through the oneness that we come from. And so, yeah, let's get into what we can. So we have two things. So we're going to go through, so we did our introductions, and now we're going to go through individually, maybe the same way that we started, the same order. Two things. So number one, what can we do now to change the world? What can every single person in this chat do now to change the world, to move into New Earth? And then two, how we can deal with the unconscious folks in our life that are not necessarily awoken to that same timeline, that same experience. And then as we go through, I want this to be different than the introduction in the sense that as speakers, we can chime in and chat with each other. But audience, if you wouldn't mind, keep your questions. And if you have profound things to add that are on topic, please share them, because that's a lot of what this is about, the meeting of the minds. I learned so much from interacting with the people on my live videos in the chat rooms. I really do. And together we can really figure a lot of things out. So yeah, speakers, if you want to chime in, and then audience Q&A in the chat room. And then in part 2, we'll do the Q&A, if that sounds good. So speak now or hold your peace. So number one, what we can do now. So I've been having these types of conversations with some really, I want to say powerful people, but we're all powerful. It's just a matter of kind of anchoring that in. What we can do now is what we do, our thoughts manifest our reality, right? We know that. So how about as a collective, if every single person just started envisioning what the world looks like in the New Earth? And I would like to propose, what does the world look like without money? Money mimics something in the true nature of reality. I got that guidance 2 months ago. Well, the other day they dropped a bomb on me as I actually dropped the bomb on myself. You know how that works. And it actually turns out that money actually mimics the true nature of reality. So the way that I'm envisioning the New Earth is I'm envisioning every interaction that I have. What would that interaction look like if money was not a thing, was never a thing, and will never be a thing again? So, and that's what I kind of was inspired by when Laurel, you said the keys are simple. It's really just that and simple. Let's envision the New Earth. So that's my answer for number one. What we can do now to change the world is start envisioning things as you want to see them. We kind of unconsciously participate in things because we think we have to do these things. We think we have to get the job, to get the insurance, to pay for the car, and to pay for our mortgage. But there is a better way. We just have to try to find better ways of doing things. And we really inspire each other by getting together and doing groups and having conversations like this. And then recognizing that we are not just people, we are consciousness. And so for part 2, for me, for dealing with the unconscious people, I find that, especially in my journey, before I had my spiritual awakening, I actually had a very dark awakening, in the sense that I seemingly have probably the most, maybe not the most, I don't want to put any hierarchy to it. I have some extreme compassion for evil. I have some extreme compassion for understanding the atrocities that are going on this planet, for understanding, not that I agree by any means whatsoever, but I found that when we understand them, when we understand this energy, we are able to find solutions. So while I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, I'm really into understanding evil as a means to find solutions. So when dealing with unconscious people, recognizing that there's something going on right now in this physical ascension where we are bringing in more of our higher selves. We're bringing in life force. We've had our life force floating around our head, most of us, for most of our lives. And then through things like what Laurel Love does with the DNA activations, helps people bring in that life force. When you make better decisions, you start to claim your sovereignty. And once your sovereignty is fully embodied, that's when you're like, okay, I don't need this monetary system anymore. I get it. It's an alchemical process, so I don't expect it to be just that easy. That's why I actually have a webinar that I gift for donation, or if anyone wants it, please email me, let me know, how to exit the monetary system, because it's an alchemical process. But anyways, people are walking around with different levels of life force that they are embodying. So if you have a lot of life force and you're around somebody who doesn't have a lot of life force, there's going to be a primal instinct there for them to want to take that, or not take it from you, because they don't even know, they don't have it. But we can have some compassion for that, in the sense where we understand it's because they don't embody their life force. So we are definitely not going to fix the problems on the planet with the same level of consciousness that created them. So we're not going to make people conscious by fighting them with their own weapons. We can offer a little bit compassion, understanding, and understanding that it's an alchemical thing that's going on right now, where a lot of people are claiming their sovereignty, they're claiming their life force, and some people are just not doing it. So having said that, I will pass the torch to, was it Barbara that went after me?
Yeah, it was me. How can I follow that?
It's funny, you just start talking and you're like, what the heck did I even just say?
Well, everything that you talked about is so valid and amazing. And, one of the things that actually, the first question, to answer the first question, what's the most important thing that you think? There's so many different things, but when you were talking about, how embodied certain people are, I feel that the most important thing that people can do right now is to start to really connect in with your own, with your own body and with your own gifts and talents and abilities, and also to become more authentically yourself. Meaning, I know so many people who, they have gifts and they have abilities, and they second guess themselves all the time. They second guess everything. They're so worried about this avatar that they've created based on everybody else's perceptions of them, or how they think everybody else should see them. I would love for everybody to let that go and just to go ahead and embrace their own authentic self, because once you do that, what you're doing is you're creating healing, not just for yourself, but you're creating it for everybody. We're all connected into the same grid systems, right? So when you start working on yourself, you become more authentic. You can bring in more frequency. The more authentic you are, the more on your ascension timeline you are, the more you bring in frequency. The more you bring in frequency, you bring that into the grid system, so it helps everybody. So it's not just helping you, it's helping everybody else too. That's how we bring more light onto the planet. We're all connected into the same thing. So that's I could answer that for like an hour, because there's about 1 million things that I think are important, but that's a big one right now. And the second question was how to deal with people who are unconscious. For me personally, I choose to see the multidimensionality in everybody. So when I am meeting somebody for the first time, or I'm in the presence of a lot of people, sometimes you have to go to a place that has a lot of people who are unconscious walking around. I choose to see their light. I know that we all have a spark of the divine within us. We are the divine. Every single one of us, whether in 3D we know it or not. So I choose to look at them and see their God self, as opposed to the 3D aspect. That's how I work it, because, honestly, sometimes too, I have people who come into my healing space for help, who are really lost. They're completely asleep, but for some reason, something told them to come and see me. Like my husband, he's a dog trainer. He's a spiritual dog trainer. He's super awesome. But he a lot of times he sends people to me to just help with their help do healing with their dogs. And all these people, they're just completely asleep. They're they're not awake at all. And at first it was really hard for me. I would get really frustrated because I can't play like I can't pretend to be this, you know, oh, I'm just going to help your dog with his gait problem or whatever, his behavior problem. I need to tell him like what's up and what's going on. And, you know, sometimes it doesn't go very well. So, but I got to the point where I started to say, the light in me sees the light in you. You know, that total new age namaste, but that's really what it means, is actually meeting somebody and being a mirror for them so that they can see their best self. Does that make sense? So that's how I try to meet people who are, you know, not awake yet. That's how I deal with it.
That's amazing. I feel like as you're speaking, you're creating healers for everybody that's listening. Themselves is now becoming a healer as we learn to deal with these things. So,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Matthew, what do you have to say? What can we do right now to change the world?
Oh, thank you. I love that question. In my opinion, I believe that first and foremost, at least for me, experientially in my process, that began with coming to knowledge of self, truly understanding who I am, why I came here, what my purpose is. And then, you know, going through the process of assisting other people in, you know, the awakening, the clearing, or whatever it is that we need to kind of, you know, raise our frequency as a collective. I can tell you, you know, for me and the work that I'm doing, that usually begins in one of three areas. And that's, you know, starting off with, you know, addressing the mind, body, spirit complex. And right now today, from the mental, you know, planes, we're experiencing a lot of a purgative type of energy, all of the old themes, all of the old cycles, all of the old programming, all of those old elements of the previous version of the third dimensional, you know, aspects of you that need to go away in order for us to step into that new earth timeline, or whatever you want to call it, which is ultimately for a lot of us a fourth density state. There's a huge misconception going on right now about this 5D40 thing, which is a whole other conversation. But to be very specific, we can start by letting go of the programming that we're carrying around, you know, who we are, what we came in with, our stories specifically, like the conditions, the experiences. We can begin to heal the self, go through a process of self-healing. And for a lot of us, it's really easy to talk about that stuff. It's really easy to go on Facebook and write these, you know, these long articles about all this self-work and inner work that we're doing. But the vast majority of us right now are blocked from doing a lot of higher consciousness work, primarily because we've been subjecting ourselves to this weaponized food, weaponized environment, heavy metal deposits that we're constantly picking up, and also the radio frequencies, ultimately 5G as well, that are kind of assaulting our consciousness. So what we do is, not only in releasing the programming elements, as we address the body complex and we begin to release the heavy metal toxicity from the physical, you know, from the physical structures. Along with that, we then treat the spirit complex. And that's where, you know, we come into a greater understanding of the multidimensional blueprint and the fabric of who we are, who we were, why we came here. We begin to understand our place in the world. And I think when we go through this ongoing process with true intention, for some of us, it can take a year. For some of us, it takes months. In my opinion, it's an ongoing thing that we're going to be going through during the entirety of this 3D process. So that's a very long way of saying knowledge of self, for me, is the absolute necessity for changing the world and understanding why we came here. Now, to address the second part of that question, how do I interact? How do I, you know, deal with the, you know, what we might lovingly call sleepers, or the people that are just kind of, you know, still maintaining that third density kind of, you know, vibration? I would like to say lovingly detached, allowing people to play through their dramas and their cycles, and understanding that, you know, at this stage, a lot of us are coming into this information as forerunners, people that chose to pick up these frequencies and carry this fourth density, you know, frequency to the masses. So a lot of us we intended to experience before everyone else. So what that means to me is that we need to be an example, that we need to live as an example. And I think allowing people to go through their processes from a place of non-judgmental, detached, loving energy, and assisting where we can, that's where I would like to be of assistance, I guess, to those that are still asleep, I guess we could say. I don't know if that answers your question. That might have been a tangent, but.
No, that was awesome. So you talk about the mind, body, spirit complex a lot, and I have a question about that. What's the difference between the mind and the spirit? And can you separate them from the body? Meaning, can you be very mindful and spiritual, but treat your body like crap? And how does that play out?
I think that in order to fully experience or to fully embody the third dimensional life cycle that we came here to live, we're going to need to go through all of those things. And for some of us, we're going to experience, the whole, all of those cycles. So I would say, to answer that question, in my opinion, the mind is a receiver. The brain is a receiver. The spirit is the higher self, the true version of you that exists both inside and outside of this on multitude of dimensional planes. So I think that they can be separate, but ultimately we're talking about, this one being that will need to be in harmony in order for it to reach its full potential. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think they can be separate in a sense, but we have to maintain like a cohesion on a certain level, at least in order to go through this process. So I might be speaking.
That's what I was thinking too, because I am learning from going to conferences and hearing other perspectives that the ascension that's occurring right now on the planet is one in which we take the body with us, in a sense. So it seems to put emphasis on how we take care of the body. Maybe not necessarily that you have the so-called perfect body, whatever that is, but that we are super mindful of the environmental factors that come into play that we really need to be on the offense about. So that's awesome. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, and I think I just realized, Laurel, I skipped you because I went on and then but you started first in the intro. So do you want to go or do you want to go last?
Sorry. All right. Okay. Bye. We can, because we're close to the end. So
is it 9:15?
Who else needs to go? Barbara?
Well, we're gonna hear from Eric and then we're gonna hear from you. So we have till 9:15.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Okay, so I'll do Eric and
Eric, and then yeah.
Okay. All right, so
okay.
Eric, can you tell us what we can do right now to change the world, and how do we deal with unconscious people?
Yeah, definitely. So what can we do to really start changing the world around us right now? One of the easiest ways that we can start doing this is to recognize what energetic density is. So energetic density is simply a heavy sinking feeling that is not just a feeling, it's an actual energy. And so like when we have joy or excitement or, things that we're really, really bubbly about, those types of sensations, it's almost a lifting sensation to it. And when you start feeling that, you can heighten these sensations and turn them up. You can actually get to the point to where you can release density out of your body because you're tuning into what the density is. And more often than not, these are programs that are passed down to you, either from your parents, from society, from the environment, or from past life connections, or more importantly, the stuff that we don't like looking at that we created in our life. And that right there, when we start tuning into those programs and that awareness deep inside that says, well, what am I feeling right now? What is the purpose of this? Do I like this or do I not? And when you start opening up that observer, it gives you the ability to start differentiating between things that you enjoy and things that you don't. And when you can start tuning into very strong and high vibrational fields, you can start utilizing these to find those densities through the timelines, through the genetic connections, through the DNA. And it's all simply by lifting yourself up and feeling all the places that are hanging off, that are heavy, that are hard, that are trying to pull you back down. And all you have to do is stop fighting with these things and just start showing them what you want them to feel like. And if they're stuck full of chalked up nasty anger or hatred or something like that, forgiveness and joy, that's like a very easy cocktail to start breaking apart that density. And so you just follow it back through your parents, you follow it back into past life connections, but more importantly, it all starts right here, right now with being present and recognizing that, hey, you probably got some things about yourself that you don't really enjoy that you automatically do. Take a look at them, figure it out, say, why is this here? What's going on? And the thing about cleaning out energetic density from the DNA lines is that you might be clearing out something that happened 40, 50,000 years ago. And the thing about time and space being non-existent, being the ever-present now, is 40 or 50,000 years ago, those people don't physically exist anymore, but that energy does, and you have access to it. And so if you start cleaning out your gateway and you start following it all the way back through your genetics, which it's your energy, it's your ability to clean, it's your domain, it's your space. And if you go in and you start cleansing on this level, you're releasing density and hardness out of the entire timeline and the history. And this is the quarantine field that's around the planet that's keeping us locked into this three-dimensional reality. And so the more of that we clean out, the more we lift up, the faster the energy comes in, there's more light to anchor in, more people wake up, the collective consciousness, it shifts faster, and we start to see results a lot more quickly. And when you do this work, it's all about doing it for yourself. It's not about doing this for other people. It's about finding a space inside of yourself that is whole and healthy. And by doing that, you're actually helping everybody else out, because what we're doing is we're energetic gatekeepers. We're doorways that we came from someplace that is different than this density in this program that we're inside of right now. And as we start to elevate ourselves back up into these remembrances, to these places where we used to exist, we start to embody that here in the physical body, and it radiates inside of the density, inside of the darkness. And it releases more and more people wake up. And it's hands down one of the most important things that you can do here in this reality. And it's simply just focusing on yourself. It's simply trying to find a place of health and healing for yourself. And you can only sit inside of that feeling and that resonance for so long before it gets to the point where you don't have anything else that you have to focus on. You know, you can, instead of all of these things that are just purging one after another, it's like, well, what's next? And then you have to go and find it. And then, you know, it takes a little bit longer to go and find the next one. And what ends up happening is you start transforming your inner focus into the outer focus, and you start using all the lessons that you learned on the inside to clean things out. And you have a roadmap to start cleaning things out on the outside, including in the physical, which, you know, we don't want to focus on where it's messed up and where it's all nasty. We want to be aware of it. But we want to focus on where it's already clean and open and make that stronger, and then bring that into where it's all nasty and messed up, and it has no choice but to dissolve and to release. And, you know, and that segues right in with that next part of the question. What can we do to help out the people who are asleep on the planet? Fixing yourself, you know. Like, we have a whole bunch of subgroups. And so, like, we have the one big collective consciousness. This is all of humanity right here. And then we might have racial groups. We might have thought groups, we might have persuasion groups, we might have ways of thinking and feeling that other people don't think or feel that way, that are spread out through all races, throughout all times, whatever it might be. And you start finding that inside of these subgroups, there are people who you resonate with, who think like you, who act like you, who talk like you. And when you are existing in a specific state of trauma that you are then cleaning, everybody in that specific collective subgroup is now recognizing that the energy is shifting. It's almost like there's a bunch of pressure built up and everything's tight, and then all of a sudden it pops. And then the energy, the flow, it's going out that direction. And they might not be able to energetically tune in and feel that specifically, but they start recognizing there's relief, there's something happening, there's something going on. And when you can start shining at these levels, this becomes a physical field that anybody who comes into contact with you can feel. You're shining like a sun, they recognize there's something different. They don't know what it is, but they have to start recognizing how they can create it. And, you know, it's the light virus. Once you feel it, once you experience it, it's like, wow, I want more. I want to do that. And then you start getting brighter, and then other people recognize it, and they're like, hey, can I light my torch too? And you're like, yeah, we're brighter together. Yay. You know? So that's kind of that in a nutshell there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's like, from what you're saying, it sounds like we're becoming these really conscious co-creators, like in the 3D, because we're used to coming to Earth, coming into this 3D life, having amnesia. But this time around, we are taking responsibility for our creation in a multi-dimensional level in this body on this planet. That's crazy cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Isn't it though? I mean, like, we are seriously in the most epic story ever.
Yes.
And like, as we look at this in the moment, it doesn't seem like that. But like, some of the heroes and legends that we have from our history, there's nothing that even comes close to the epic level of what we're doing right now in this place, in this time.
Yeah. And it also kind of made me think about we're trying to escape the karmic wheel, right? As we become conscious co-creators and we clear all of our baggage, all of our karma from all of our dimensional selves, all of our past lives, and even in this lifetime, you guys might have noticed, and maybe if you want to share a story, I wanted to share that I feel like at this stage, I can feel my higher self it's me, because we're starting to embody that. I can feel on a higher energetic level that I do not want to accumulate any more karma whatsoever. And it's really funny how it manifests in my life. Like today I was in the kitchen and I had a wet dish. I wanted to dry it, but there was no towel in the kitchen. So I'm just unconsciously walking into the bedroom to realize I'm in the bedroom with a wet dish, and then I run out to the kitchen and I snap at my boyfriend I'm like, why aren't there any towels in the kitchen? Like, for some reason it's his fault, right? And then it's funny because I immediately start laughing and I'm like, the only reason I snapped at you is because I was pissed there wasn't a towel in the kitchen. That had nothing to do with you whatsoever. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and see, it's these awarenesses right here. When you start in the moment, you recognize, why am I feeling this way? And instead of unconsciously going with that program, which if you let it go, snapping at somebody, you can turn that into a fight really easily. Even if it's a really easygoing person, you keep on staying on that program. Eventually that person's going to start throwing that back at you. And that's where we end up with the echo chamber.
Yeah, it's like a pride thing. And I'm like, oh gosh, I don't ever want to go back to that life, because I've been in relationships where I would just let it ride out because, 5 days ago, I didn't say sorry for the thing I should have said sorry for. And this is just making this experience so much more enjoyable on this planet.
Yeah, we've got really amazing starships that we're piloting around here. They can do some pretty amazing things. And all we've been doing is like trying to overhaul like the grease buckets, And like once you recognize it's like, wait, this isn't just lubrication. Like we can do things with this. It rolls. Wait, it flies? Are you kidding me?
What do you mean by starships?
Our meat suits. These are our temples. This is the temple of the Holy Spirit, where we can do anything inside of this. Like, here, let me turn off my video camera real quick here. So like when I'm talking, do you see that picture that I've got up right now?
Yeah.
So that right there, the auric field on the outside, once you can actually feel this, it's like if you've ever watched Doctor Who, it's literally the TARDIS. You can go anywhere in time and relative dimensions in space with this. And all you really have to do is just be able to feel it and then start tuning into timelines and connections, which are nothing more than using your mental faculties to tune into those situations, those events, whatever it might be. And then inside of this energetic space, you are now connecting into that flow. And all you have to do is just translate it. And more importantly, alchemically shift it into what you want it to be.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Eric.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Laurel, where are you at, sister? Your mic is off.
That's
Laurel,
funny.
what can we do right now to change the world?
First of all, that was a dumb decision to go after Eric. That was dumb. So, that's what happened.
Don't you feel activated? He's super activated. Like,
oh my god, I just don't want him to stop talking.
Echo
I'm like, what can I say?
There's an echo on your end, by the way.
Oh. There. Is it better?
Let's see. Yeah.
Okay, wait, hold on. Oh my god, so many things. My daughter, when she was first born, she was like 2. I remember I was like tripping about the phone cord, like the charger cord, and she was like, Mommy, she turns to me in her diaper, this little child who's fucking brilliant, I swear it's an alien person. She turns to me and she goes, Mommy, too many cords. And I was like, yeah, brain energy. Yeah.
I know these kids know what's up.
I know, they just, okay, so yeah. Anyway, what can we do right now is like just simplicity. I feel like, honestly, as I say that about a 2-year-old, like it's like literally looking at everyone as though, you know what, like everything that you've ever dealt with in your life, they're dealing with it right now. Everybody, like everyone, just giving them that grace that, like, you know what, I might be in that moment where like the straw breaks the camel's back and I'm that person in that situation, no matter what. I mean, and maybe it's positive or whatever, but like if there's some interaction where it's like, you know, like really how we can show this love that we claim to be about and that we claim is changed our life and changing the world, whatever the derivative, wherever the origin is of it, the way that we show that is in our daily life, being like, no matter how much like we get punked by life, you know, we're just like, all right, like, let's see how we can move through this together, you know, like, I love you and let's see how we can move through this together, and realizing where the paradox is and those boundaries. Like, ultimately, it's funny, I live with this person right now, my friend, who we honestly didn't really even know each other before we moved in together. And he's so kind. And I joke with him sometimes. I'm like, who are you working for? Because he's just so kind to me and always reminding me to be kind as well. And like, you know what, like it's an opportunity to be kind, and it's an opportunity to like, okay, if somebody in your life can be vulnerable enough to fuck up around you, like that means they're not holding this weird cage that we hold in society. Like, so if you actually have an interaction with someone where you get to see that other side of them that we all have, you know, that all of us on some level, dude, I used to fight it so hard. I had this friend who always talked to me about shadow work, and I was like, there is no shadow. I am made of the light. I am blah, blah, blah. Let there be light, which is true. But also, as we clean this out, I have to look at the things that are here. You know what I mean? So anyway, as we take that opportunity that like, oh wait, someone just let me see their shadow. Someone just let me see their dirty room or their dirty car or their closet that isn't organized or whatever it is, you know, they actually let me see that. Like, instead of being like, what the fuck are you doing with that dirtiness? And being like, wow, like, I love you. Like, how can I support you here? You know, like, no matter how much it hurts my heart or how much I like want to be bitter or I want to whatever, being overtaking that moment and being like, yo, like this is a privilege. This person feels like they can trust me and love me enough to let me see this. Like, I feel like that is just, it's really reframed my life, you know, to be like, wow, God, like people aren't, because people, I feel like I've heard, okay, there's this thing, and I'll land the plane with this, but there's this thing with like cardinal signs that like people tend to like kind of dump stuff on them or whatever, and come to them kind of like therapists, cardinal signs, anyway, zodiac. So, and I think being able to look at it like, oh my gosh, like this person feels like they can trust me. People don't do that. Like, people don't come to people don't, anyway, get that transparent, you know? Mm-hmm. So how, anyway, answering the question, which is the last one, and then we'll be done, like how we can reflect that in daily life is like, no matter what, which is like, seriously, if this is your prayer, it's an intense prayer to pray, like to be unoffendable, because I've been praying this prayer for like 5 years. I'm like fucking Buddha. Like, you offend me, you will not get me off my game. Like, no matter what happens, like, I'm going to show up with a cookie and a smile, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And like, I know you didn't like I said motherfucker or whatever. You know what I mean? Not you, but you know what I mean? But anyway, so, whoa, being able to do that, like, I dare people to pray that prayer because, like, it's intense. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what happens, like, I'm going to show up in love. I'm going to show up in love. I'm going to show up because we can. You know?
Yeah.
So that's my answer.
Thank you so much for that. So this was a really, is there anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap this section of this New Earth Roundtable?
I just want to say thank you guys so much for, I don't know, I'm kind of drunk with everything that people have talked about. Like, it's just amazing, the energies that have gone on right now. Like, and I'm just really excited. And thank you, Eric. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you to you. Thank you. Yeah, this is just very exciting.
Yeah.
And Sierra too. Sierra is loveless. Sierra is doing all of the beautiful admin I know somewhere. Yeah.
Thank you, Sierra, too, for organizing a lot of this.
Yeah, Sierra is my favorite.
I freaking love her. Yeah. So tell us. So Lauren, do you want to just like take it out and tell us what we're doing next?
Well, here, hold on. Let's go ahead and stop this recording right here, and then we'll just come on and jump on like we're doing a brand new one when we start the new recording, okay?
Okay, I was just going to recap with one sentence what everyone said, but we can do that in the new one if you think.
Oh no, like let's just go straight into the Q&A with the new one.
Okay. Or do you want me to recap this section?
Yeah, recap it.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I'm just jumping in and being obnoxious now. So yeah, you do.
No,
your
that's
thing.
perfect. That's perfect. So let me know when. So okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, awesome. So we're wrapping up this section. We had what can we do right now to change the world, and how can we deal with unconscious? Thank you for that answer, Laurel. She said, what can we do right now to change the world? Laurel said simplicity and being unoffendable, showing up and loving anyway. I had suggested that we envision what we want, envision what New Earth looks like, what it looks like without money, and gain knowledge of why people are unconscious to begin with. Barbara said to be the authentic self, know your talents and the gifts, and to bring that in and to nurture that aspect of ourselves, and to see the God self in others. Choose to see the best parts of them. Matthew said, what we can do right now to change the world is to have knowledge of self with a mind, body, spirit complex, and to look at the unconscious without judgment, dropping judgment. Eric said, becoming a creator in the 3D aspect of ourselves, taking responsibility for all of our dimensional aspects of ourselves as co-creators, healing those things to bring in more of the light, and then to be a torch for others. So that wraps up part 1 of our New Earth Roundtable. Does anybody, any of the speakers, you guys want to add anything in before we shift on?
I think this was absolutely excellent. I definitely feel there is so much that has gone unsaid. We have plenty of talking points that we could fill hours worth of information for. So I definitely see us doing this again. Thank you guys so much for joining everybody here. Like, this was really a lot of fun. I'm really excited to do the Q&A part.
Awesome. Yeah, me too.
I'm excited too. I think I could literally listen to you guys or talk with you guys for hours.
Yeah.
So this is really fun for me. I love it. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, me too. How should we transition into part 2? Who wants to?
Yeah, let me say a little blessing. Can I say a little blessing first? Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just breathe. So we're gonna go to part 2. Let's just breathe. Thank you. Whew. Thank you. Yeah, let's just bring everything in. Bring it all into the DNA. Let it settle. Let it settle in this alternate dimension that we've created. Let it settle in this other new earth. Like we're saying, there's a new earth that we're creating. Yeah, let's let everything settle. Thank you. In every realm, in every dimension. Thank you. Yeah. Hey, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Source, God, Creator. Thank you. Thank you, whatever your name is. Thank you that we all know. Yeah. And that we couldn't be here without that force. Yeah. However we describe it. Yeah. Thank you for Lauren and her amazing ability to direct information. Thank you for Eric and his just expansive knowledge. Thank you for Matthew and his strength. Yeah. And wow. Thank you for Barbara and her ability to see all the things. Yeah. Thank you that as we would grow right now. Whew, these are just seeds we planted. Yeah. So coming back with us for the next thing. Thank you. Lauren, I'll let you say goodbye if you want to.
Well, is it goodbye, or how do we so we're going to close down this Zoom and start a new one? Or?
No, what we're going to do is I'm just going to hit stop recording, and then we're going to hit record again, and it's going to give us 2 separate files.
Okay, that's what I thought, but then I wasn't sure if the second time around we were switching it up.
Yeah, so. No, we're already right here. Might as well just keep the same one going. It's just, it'd be really inconvenient if we started a new one up.
Okay, but I'm starting like an intro, but we're not going to introduce ourselves, obviously. So It's an intro with a Q&A. Right.
Yes, ma'am. All right, I'm going to stop the recording right now. So thank you so much, everybody, for participating.